We are going to be doing a little bit of an experiment today. We're going to be live streaming, but I'm going to be just basically streaming what I'm going to be showing some of our company team in a kind of like one-on-two session for showing them how to make the dashboards that I've been tweeting about this week. Could I ask you just to mute your mics if you're not actively speaking, please? And I'm going to share the link to this room. Anybody else some other people may join the room if you're in the Telegram session. You're welcome to come and join as well. Maybe Charlie and Siabiwe, you could just introduce yourselves quickly.
Hello, I'm Charlie. Is anything else required?
Hello, I am Siabilwe. I know here I wrote Leah. That's my other name.
Oh, okay. Is that your nickname?
No, it's my birth certificate, my ID. Leah.
Okay. I learned something new today as well. Cool. Okay, so basically the format of this is going to work like this. I'm going to pull up my QGIS on my screen and share it, and you guys are going to pull up your QGIS on your local machines and follow along with what I show you. And by the end of the session, you should hopefully have a project that looks similar to mine. And at some points, I might ask you to share your screens so we can see how your work is coming along. So, and if anybody else joins, we might ask them to do the same. But I don't know if anybody will actually join us in the chat room here. So I'm going to just dive right in. You should be able to see my screen up there. If you don't have a dual screen, you might have to switch backwards and forwards between my share and your own QGIS session. Otherwise, if you do have dual screen, just put the meeting share on one screen and your QGIS session on the other, and then try to follow along. So I'm going to first show you what we're aiming to achieve in this session, and then we're going to start from scratch, absolutely zero, and try to build something that looks the same. So you've probably seen me tweeting and going on about my dashboards over the last week. And if you haven't, this is basically a concept where I use labels in QGIS to put like an overlay on the map. It's not 100% perfect because you can see they shift. There are labels that are just drawn onto the map. But they kind of always anchor themselves onto the edges of the screen or the bottom of the screen, and they show live information about what's happening on the map. So for example, if I do a selection here, sorry, not of that, of the buildings. If you watch these numbers here, you'll see that they will update based on what I've selected. And similarly, if I do a selection on the roads, they'll update based on what I've selected. There is a bug here because these two things are, the labels are the wrong way around. Anyway, I do know about that. Somebody pointed out on Twitter. Thank you. At the bottom here, I've also got, there's no labels for it yet, so it's also still a bit of a work in progress. But this polygon here is supposed to represent a flood polygon, and this will update live if I change the dimensions of the flood or the shape of the flood polygon. So if I, for example, go like this, and then save that, you should see the numbers will change based on the new dimensions. I think it even changed as I moved the vertex. Isn't that nice? Let's see. So it's 458. Let's go like this. I might have like crashed QGIS or something. It seems to be hanging. I guess I'll get a couple of crashes as we go, and that's okay. We'll just start again if we have to. I don't know if it crashed or if it just got stuck. Anyway, I'm not going to get too hung up if we have a crash every now and again. I am using the development version of QGIS, so there might also be some instabilities coming with doing that. This whole thing has been set up as just basically by adding this extra layer called dashboard here. And in this layer, I've added a bunch of different attributes which govern all the things like the colors, the label, and the text, the formula, the placement of everything. So it's all just done by these few columns here. So we're going to go through from scratch, just starting with a simple one and then try to add things on. And there's a couple of core concepts in here. The one is this so-called aggregation expressions or aggregator expressions. You can see an example of one here where it's basically summing the buildings based on the area of the flood, for example, what have you. So you've got these different expressions that you can use to actually generate these numbers. It's all done totally on the fly, and that's why it is a bit slow and it probably won't scale very well for a large data set. I also created a map layout like this, just to show that it does also render out to a map. I needed to just set this to A3. All the measurements are in millimeters on the layout. So like the screen's resolution is high enough such that the millimeter like screen dimensions won't map to, or if you look at my physical screen, I mean it's much bigger than an A4 page. So, but doing something like that, you'll see that you can make a print-ready product from the same thing as well. Okay, and just a couple of other notes is that this is all in a geo package. So we're going to be creating a geo package, and the project as well is stored in a geo package. But I'm going to just start from scratch. Hopefully you guys have blanked out your QGIS sessions. And the first thing to do is just to open up the browser and zoom to a small place, because this is really just a demonstrator of what you can do. It's not going to scale to like all of South Africa or something like that. By the way, I should have said just interrupt me anytime if you want to ask questions or anything. So I'm going to go and just open, I'm just going to go and add an XYZ layer here. You can use anything. I'm going to use the OpenStreetMap monochrome layer, I think, like this. And then just drag your way into somewhere where that's interesting for you. I'm going to just maybe choose a small village somewhere. I think I'll go to Badajoz, which is yeah, and just in Spain, across the border from Portugal. And so when you've got your area, then you can just use the Quick OSM plugin. The Quick OSM plugin, it's available in the plugin manager. You just search Quick. You see mine's already installed there. And what this does is it quickly goes and grabs data from OSM for you, and you can choose which kinds of data you want to get. It's a really quick way to just add some data to your project. So with the Quick OSM project, we're going to go in here, and I'm just going to search for highways and buildings. Highway, and I'm going to just say the canvas extent for the area, and I'm going to run the query. Are you guys following along okay? Just tell me if you get left behind.
Yes, I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the other one I'm going to do is for buildings. This one here, the same extent, so I'll just run that query as well. Okay, and if everything's worked nicely for you, you should have a bunch of data loaded up on the screen. I'm going to just keep the building polygons and the highway lines. Now see there's two highway lines. I just want to make sure I keep the right one. Control D, in case you don't already know the shortcut, will remove items from the legend. So CLB, we hopefully been learning your shortcuts after our last session where I was encouraging you to learn some shortcuts. So I'm just turning on and off the layers here to see which ones arrive and disappear when you can see all of the roads seem to be in this pink layer. So I'm going to get rid of that one as well. All right, so before we get too invested in our work, we want to save this as a project. So I'm going to go and create a new geo package. I'm going to say, create database. And we can store our work in our next cloud here. I'm just going to call it QGIS dashboard walkthrough, and we're going to maybe put Badajoz there. Okay. And then I'm going to name the geo package. I spelled it wrong. Never mind, we can fix it there. Okay, and it's going to want to make some default table in there. We're just going to call it delete me or something like that, and just give it some blank information there. We actually just want the blank geo package, but it's fine. We can just do that, and then here's our geo package registered. I'm going to delete this layer here that I created. And then we're going to go and we just drag and drop these into the geo package. Hey, Juan, welcome. Okay, are you keeping up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you hide your screen, if you get rid of those two layers now that you added originally, the memory layers, and you drag and drop these two back into your canvas, then you should see the data now is rendering from GeoPackage rather than from those temporary layers that QuickOSM made. And I'm going to, at this point, I'm just going to turn off this background. And now we could spend some time tidying up these the cartography of these layers. I'm not going to spend any time. I'm just going to basically make the roads black and buildings orange or something. And kind of leave it at that. So the focus is not on the cartography for this session. Something like that, yeah. All right, now we need to save our project. So we want to save these inside of a geo package. To do that, we say save to rather than save as or save. If you say save to, then you can choose your geo package. And you can call it the same thing, QGIS dashboard. Okay. All right. So now we've got just basically a bit of a sandbox playground to play with. And then we're going to go and make another layer, which is going to be our labels layer. Now, I just took that previous project that I had and I put it out into a spreadsheet, just so that I don't have to spend time trying to figure out all the functions from scratch. But and so we're going to create a layer with all of these attributes here. And if you are like in our Cartoza Club, you can go into our Nextcloud QGIS projects folder at the anchored dashboard, and you can get that same spreadsheet up if you want it. And I'll share it on in a more public place as well for anybody who might be trying to follow along on YouTube and what have you. But So I'm just going to move this off to my other screen so that I can kind of watch it on the side, and then you can try to follow along, and we're going to go in there and just make this new table in our project. You can see that the QGIS project is not showing there, but you just need to refresh and just confirm that that you did save the project into your geo package. Okay, and then just as you're working, just save regularly. Every time you do something, add a value increment to the project, just go and save. Okay, so we're going to create a new table, and we're going to call this one dashboard. Right, and it now needs to have the fields added. So the first thing we want to have is, we want to tell it that we want to use a polygon geometry. And one of the tricks that we're going to do is the geometry of this dashboard for every feature that we add to it is going to be set to the size of the world. So that if we pan and zoom, that the labels are always in scope of whatever is on the view frame. If you wanted to, you could make it smaller if you want the dashboard to stop showing at some point when you pan out of the town, for example. You could even have different dashboards in different towns with different polygons around them. But for this, we're going to just use the whole world as the scope for our project. Okay, and so now we're going to add some fields. First, we want a name field, and that's just a name for the dashboard entity, just so that you can kind of keep a mental map of what each piece is. In GeoPackage, you don't need to specify the length. It will, if you set it to 0, it will basically treat it like a unlimited text field. Okay. In fact, it doesn't, I don't think, enforce any constraints anyway. So, and then we're going to add a field called geometry generator. And this is also going to be text. And this is going to be basically an expression stored in here, which is going to be creating some kind of geometry. And that geometry will be the geometry that defines where the anchor point for the label is. Okay, so the label, you can't specify a box or something for a label. You can only specify a dot. Well, I guess you could specify a box, but we're going to be just giving it a point. And then it will anchor the point, the label to that point. And you'll see in the label properties just now, you can say, okay, make the bottom left-hand corner the origin of the label point, what have you. And then we're going to have another one, which is the label expression. And the purpose of the label expression is to have the calculation of what actually gets shown on the label. So the first one is to show where the label goes, and this one is to show what goes in the label. And then we're going to have a label offset X and a label offset Y. And the purpose of these two fields is, and they can be integers, is to say, given the origin for the label based on the geometry generator, I want to shift the label down or right on the screen. And then we can kind of exactly place it onto the screen at whatever position we like. So we're going to have a label offset X and Y field there. Then we're going to have a width field, which is how wide do we want the label to be. And then we're going to have a couple of color fields. So we're going to have a background color field. And that's going to be text. And we're going to have a font color field. And that's also going to be text here. All right, and then we're going to have a couple of fields for the font properties. So we're going to have the font size. It can stay a number. We're going to have the height, which is the label height. We're going to have the style, which is the font style, like bold or I forget what the other option is, bold or I can't remember what but regular I think is the other option. And then we're going to have lastly the font. And that's going to be, so these two have to be text, the style and the font. Okay, so hopefully you've managed to make something that looks like this. I'm going to just save that as... Did you manage to keep up with me as I was putting those in?
Yeah, I'm good.
Just double check the field types, because if you got it wrong, you're going to have to go and fiddle around later. So you should have name as a string, geometry generator string, label expression string, offset x, y, and width are integers. Background color, foreground color are, background color, font color are strings. Font size and height are integers, and then style and font are strings. Okay. All right, and now we want to make our life a bit. Okay, I don't know why it's complaining about that message there. I don't know if you get the same message, but
I'm using 316 and
it's probably
didn't
just
give
some
an error.
local gremlin. That's fine. Just save your project again. I mean, it didn't really actually change much in the project, but or anything in the project. But you should have this new dashboard table, and you should, if you look in the fields, you should see all our fields with the correct ABC or 1, 2, 3 icon next to them. So we can drag this into the project. You're not going to see anything because it's got nothing in it. And then what we want to do here is we want to go into the attributes form, and we want to just kind of tweak things a bit. So as you've seen probably in the robust discussions on QGIS, this FID thing, we're just going to hide it away. We don't want the user to even know that it exists. And we can give nice friendly labels to all the other things here. Actually, I'm going to just leave those. I just don't want to make our life too complicated. So the main thing I want to really do is just for the geometry generator and expression, I want to make them multi-line, just so that if we use the form view, we've got a bit more space to type those in. And the color ones, I want to use the color widget. And then for the style and the font, I want to give some fixed options. So here we're going to go to value map. And what this lets us do is create a pick list of things that we allow to enter into those fields. So the first one will be bold. Bold. And this is just to save you having to remember this when you're actually entering data later. And then regular for the second type. Okay. I'm just making some screenshots in case you want to come back to them later. All right, and then for the font, we're going to put in the names of the fonts that we want to allow. Now we're going to come back later and add this UN Ocha one in. I need to just check what the proper value for that is. So, but for now, we'll just put Arial, and Arial bold. Sorry, Arial black. Hopefully you've got these fonts on your system already. I think they're pretty much standard shipped with most operating systems. Okay, so we've changed basically the color. I see I spelled height wrong. We'll just go fix that quickly as well. Just apply that change. Okay. Have you managed to keep up with me as well for that part?
Yep.
CLB,
Yes.
okay. So now if you go and create a polygon like this, you'll see a nice little form with your color picker for choosing colors, and for the style you can choose bold or regular or Arial black. So we're just trying to make the process of capturing these things a little bit easier. And you'll see we've got multi-line editors for here. I could have changed these names to use more friendly names as well, but I'll leave that for another time, just in the interest of time. Okay, so how do we get our first label onto the screen? What we want to do is we want to capture a polygon, but we want to do one which is at the scope of the whole world. So I'm just going to zoom out like this. And this is just a totally lazy way to do it. I appreciate there's lots of other better ways to do it, but I'm just going to say edit, create, add rectangle from extent like this, and then I'm just going to go like this. Basically drag a box across the whole world. All right, so this is going to be, let me just redo that because something went weird. So I'm just right-clicking to close the polygon. I see that. Hang on, just try one more time. Okay. It sort of shifts it a bit, but I don't think it's going to affect us too much. Okay. So now we're doing our first label. So we can just do like a little dummy label here and just say first label. All right. And let's put in, for the geometry generator, we're going to learn about our first expression. So this expression here will basically go and take the map extent, and we'll get a geometry back for the map extent, and then it will treat it as a series of vertices. And because the map extent is going to be, I think it works like, it starts from here, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4 points, and then closes itself again. So if we count through those points and we want to put our label over here somewhere, then we can use the 4th point as the reference point for where our label should be placed. So that's all that does, that expression does. It says, give me the 4th point in the extents of the map. And whatever the map is, it's always going to give you like the position in the map at this top left-hand corner. And for the label expression, we can just put in some simple text like this, like hello world, something. Wouldn't be the same without a hello world in it, right? And then we're going to have to put in some offsets, right? So now the offset's basically saying, if the origin or the label position point is here, I want you to shift it across 30 millimeters this way and 50 millimeters this way or whatever. So I'm going to put in just totally arbitrary numbers here. I'm going to put, maybe don't make them too big, but maybe just 100 and 100. And then the width is going to be the width of the label. And then we're going to choose some nice color for the background and a nice color for the foreground. When I say nice, that's totally obviously subjective. But and then we're going to choose a font size, like maybe 32. The height for the box will be in millimeters as well, so let's make that 40. And then we'll make it bold and Arial, something like that. Did you manage to follow along with those? Probably have to type the expression out yourselves.
Yeah.
Dashboard 3. Yes, Sylvie, were you?
Yes.
Okay. So if you say okay now, all you're going to get is this big, uninteresting looking box. Okay. We'll leave it there for now. I just want to save my work, so I'm just going to save my edits, save my project, and then we'll go back to edit mode. Okay. So now how do we turn this from being a boring red box into a nice looking label on our map? Well, we need to go and set some options in the styling tab here. So we actually don't want to see this red box. We want to see nothing for the symbol. So I'm just going to set it to no symbol. And then we're going to focus on the label properties. And instead of saying no labels, we're going to say single label. And then we're going to need to use some magic to actually take those. Where did I get first label from? We're going to do some magic to take all those properties from the layer. Let's go open up the layer here. So from these things, we want to sort of transcribe them into label properties. Let's do it like this just so we can see. Okay. I assume you're familiar with the fact that you can switch between the table as a table view versus as a form view. So I've just switched to the form view here. Okay. So firstly, let's do a simple thing. Let's set the color of the font to match the font color here. So all we do is we go here and we go the field type and we choose font color. All right. And you can see already it's not so easy to see, but if I change the font color here, just choose any other color basically. Can you see that the font is updated because it's bound to this thing over here? Okay, so let's put it back to white for now. And then we're going to go to, say, the font size, and we're going to bind that to the font size. And you can see why I chose the names I did. I just want them to be very logical. So when you're binding these these values to a field, it's obvious where they came from. And the same for the font. So we can just bind that to font. And for the style, you'll see that's where I got regular versus bold versus what have you from. So I just put those two, regular and bold, in as options, but you could have entries for all three of these. This expects it to be a string. If you want to know how I knew that, you can actually go in here and you can wait. Where does it go? Yeah, you just hold your mouse on the data driven property thing here, and you'll see that I can't move my mouse onto it. But if you look in there, you'll see that it says. It should be a string, and it could also be ignore, but and then it gives examples of bold, condensed, or light, italic, or what have you. Okay, so that's how I knew that I had to type it in as a full string. So that's for style. Okay, so that's all the easy ones. Let me just see. Then we've done height. Okay, we've done that. So the next thing we want to do is actually do the placement. In the placement properties. Sorry, let me just get it. No, first of all, we're going to go to this. Did you manage to get all of these working that I've just shown now?
I did.
I'm about to finish.
Okay, I'll just make another screenshot here. Let us know when you're ready, so beware. If anybody's watching the stream and asking questions, I'm sorry I can't watch the stream at the same time, but I'll try and have a look over there every now and again. I don't expect too many people to be in the stream because I only sort of announced it 1 hour before we started. But okay, Silbiwa, you good to go?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're going to jump over to this one. No, not that one. This one here. No, sorry. This one here, the background. And what we want to do now is we just want to basically draw a box around the label. So I'm going to tick on this draw background. And you can see that it's drawn a white background. But we wanted to use this background color that we set here. So we're going to go to the full color here. And I'm going to choose. Now, I didn't use the same name here because I think full color is not so obvious. When you see it in this context here, it's more obvious to see that it's background color. But you can see now that it's updated the background of the label to match whatever I've defined in my field. Again, if I go here and change this to something else, you just need to trigger it to refresh some way, yeah, like that. So it will just follow whatever I've chosen here.
Someone on the YouTube stream has asked for the Jitsi link. Should I share it there?
Yeah, you can share it to them.
Sure.
Okay. If you've come in late, I don't know, it's not going to be possible for me to catch you up, but you're welcome to ask questions or just chat to us while we're going. And yeah, we'll try our best to help you if you're trying to catch up to us. Okay, so do you have something looking like this already?
Yes.
So at the moment, this thing, the reason I chose first label, which confused me in the beginning, was because I had put the name in and it's bound this text to here to the name column. So that's just in case anybody was wondering why it says first label. We're going to update it in a minute to show this rather. Welcome, who just joined us? Alex, you're most welcome. Okay, so can I carry on, CL Beware?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so now we want to make the size of the label, of the background of the label, match the size, the height and width of our label properties. I don't know why, I should have put them together. That would have been more tidy, but anyway. So we're going to go over here to the to this off. I think we're going to do it on this offset. No, this one over here. And we're just going to bind them. Sorry. So we're going to do that to that, and then we're going to put this one to height. Okay. You can see basically it's now taking that height from our properties here, and those seem very, very big. Oh, and let's see what it's in millimeters. Okay, let's go and shrink it down. The 3 centimeters basically.
That's the font size. You need to change the height value.
Mm-hmm.
The font size. Well, you mean for this or?
Well, size X is the width and size Y is the height, if I understand it correctly. So.
These ones here are for the offset, so we're not using that. We're just using this height, and we're using the. Where is the width? That one there. Let me just check. So it's the width that I've done. It's very big. It's 10 centimeters. And let's just go to trigger an update. I'm just always just going and doing that. Okay, so that already looks a bit better. Still a bit big, right? So we can just keep tweaking it until we get it to something that looks better. They just don't look like they're millimeters to me, but I'll think about it while we're going and figure it out. So that should give us something like that. It's fine for now. We just we're going to be tweaking things a lot as we go. So what I want to do is just get all the bindings in place, and then we can go and tweak the numbers a little bit.
Tim, can you go back to the size Y and X, the bindings? Which ones did you choose?
I chose width for this one, for the X,
Okay.
and I chose height for the Y.
All right.
Remember that we're going to use the offset X and Y. Those are going to be actually not this offset, but we're going to use them on the placement over here when we get to that in a second. Okay, so that's basically we want to shift the data around. I mean the label around. The moment it's putting it in the, if you look at the placement rules, it puts it around the center of the polygon. Remember, we've got a big polygon, which is like the whole Earth. Yeah. So now we wanted to use a placement which is more based on that point. So we're going to use this geometry generator here to actually use this expression to decide where to place the label. So to do that, we're going to use the expression builder. And if you look in the fields list here, you'll see the geometry generator as an option there. But what we want to do is we want to actually eval this. So eval will basically treat whatever is inside of that field, whatever's inside of here, it will run it and take the result of that. You can see at the bottom it's showing me that it's generated a point. If I don't put eval, what I'll just get is actually whatever I've typed in the box. See, now it's showing me my expression, but that it's not actually calculating a point.
Just the string value.
Yeah. I'm just going to do Leona's trick here to make the fonts nice and big there as well. So that was press Control and scroll wheel to make the fonts bigger if you're trying to do that yourself as well. Okay, so now I can see it's making a point, and that point should be the fourth point in the rectangle that goes around the edge of the map canvas. So there's two levels of sort of indirection here. First is to make the expression, and then here is to eval the expression. And this basically lets me make a different expression for each row in the table. Otherwise, they all have to be kind of like in this, using the same expression. Okay, hi, welcome those who've been joining. You're welcome to say hi, and don't worry to interrupt if you've got questions. You're welcome to ask. Okay, so now my label has sort of disappeared off the screen. That's okay. I'm just going to save my work again as we go. And now to make it not disappear off the screen, I need to use these placement rules to tell it that I want it to be kind of like using the not category offset from point, and I tell it something like that. I have to remember which one will do it. And then I need to use these options here to get the offset right. So this one is a bit tricky because in this one we had a size X and a size Y as just two discrete fields we could choose for the height and the width. But for this offset, it expects an array with a X and a Y like in a group. So to do that, we need to write an expression as well. I can't just choose a field mapping. I need to go here, and if you search for array, you'll see that there's this little thing here that you can do to create an array like this. So I can copy that to my clipboard, and I need to use the offset X and the offset Y. So I just basically drop those two into my formula, put the array in like that. And then at the bottom, you can see it creates like a little thing, which is an array of two values, first the X and the Y. And you can see that complies with what they're saying here in the tip, that the expected format should be a string of doubles. In other words, two double precision numbers, an X and the Y. Did you manage to follow along with that all right?
Yep.
Yes.
If you don't get a preview that looks like this at the bottom, then something's broken and you need to fix it before you go on. Okay, now just make a screenshot. Okay. Now, let's see. So still not showing up on the screen. So now we've got to figure out why. I just want to save all my work here. So the figuring out the y part means that we've got to go and tweak these numbers. And I'm going to cheat a little bit so that I'm not spending too much time just guessing things. This is what I did when I was sort of developing. It was just basically trial and error things. So let's try smaller offsets, 30 and 45, for example. And I'm just going to go through one which is 45. So this is where it might be useful just to turn the symbology back on again. Yeah. And we use the same geometry generator just to see where that came up. Instead of using the sim like that, just go here. And then we make this oh wait, and then we can tweak around with those same offsets to see why it's not showing up on the screen. Try a couple like that. So it should be showing up. Okay, I'm just going to quickly open my previous project, look at the settings, and then see if I can run 2 instances of QGIS. This is the here's one I made before moment in the demo. So let's go look in here to see. What I actually want to do is look at the styling rules here. So I just want to especially look and see which things were done in points versus millimeters. So those are in millimeters. The placement I did there, and I did in millimeters. So let's go to this one here. And that's in millimeters. Okay,
What?
can you see there's one difference here that's not in quotes?
Yeah.
Tim,
Yeah.
can I bother you for 2 seconds? Can you
Sure.
please go back to the attribute form? I just want to look at the style because the styling that I'm getting is just a bit off.
For the pick list?
For the dashboard, the attribute form.
You must make it with a capital B or a capital R for the values. The values is what actually gets used to set the property. This is just a friendly name.
All right.
Does yours match?
No, it was the bees.
Okay. Okay, so that's one difference we found there. And Let me see. I just want to check some other just general things. So this project was in 4326. That one I was using 3. Let's look at one where I used rows. Make sure I've got similar offsets. So 30, 45, and a width of 68. So that width, I'm curious to just go and see here how I set the width. That was in millimeters. Okay. Let's just go, I'm just going to roll back one thing at a time. So let's put that back off. So nothing is showing at all. So that makes me think that there's something else that I broke. Because usually if any one thing is broken, then everything breaks, basically. So I'm just going to sort of roll back my changes one at a time. Just clear these until I see the labels reappear, and then I know which thing I did broke it. I haven't changed that yet. Did it show up for any of you?
No, I'm having the same issues as you.
That was working before.
No, nothing on my side as well.
Just go back to this one here where I was using the geometry generator and just set it back to no symbol. Okay, so that broke something. Okay, so let's turn that back off, and then we go back one by one and we add options back on again. So that works fine. And then that breaks it. That fixes it. Okay, so we know that there's a problem with this geometry generator. We know that it's getting us a point, but maybe the point is not what we expected. So one way to test this is just to take this one here and to get a point back here to see if that works. So that doesn't work, so we can go check that in the... That does give us back a valid point. And if we want to see what that looks like, we can say as WKT, or let's just, I always forget it's 2 WKT, geom 2 WKT. So if we do that, that will show us the location. Okay, so that is interesting because okay, my project has changed to 3857 and I should be in 4326, and I should have digitized my box in 4326. So I think I understand exactly what the issue is here. So we're just going to roll back a little bit. This is going to go back to what did we have before here? Eval geometry. Actually, the quotes that I had would not have been wrong. this is just a shortcut way. If you can reference a field if it's got a unique name, just without any quotes, just to make your life easier. So I know what I did wrong. I just got to go here and save my project. Set my project to use 4326. Okay, and then I need to go and I want to redigitize that box. So I'm just going to show the symbol again. I'm going to zoom out. I'm just going to make it transparent. Okay, so we just zoom out to the whole world again. There's the box. That box, I think even this whole layer, I'm just going to look at the properties of it. Okay, that's in 4326, so that's fine. It does seem to cover the extent of the world.
I think it's being projected on the fly, though.
It shouldn't be anymore, but let's just take this one away quickly and just save it. I'm even just going to reopen the project and just double check. Okay, and then we just work through everything step by step here. So I wanted to know that this value that I get back is actually in geographic coordinate space. So I'm just going to go here. It is in geographic coordinate space, but I think it's nowhere in. Oh wait, because I've zoomed all the way out there. So let's just leave it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. I'm going to use this as the label string just for now, so that I can actually see what. Let's see. So I can actually see what's being produced as I zoom around. I'll turn that off. Okay, so now this label is showing me the current top left corner of the view extent. So if I look at this, I don't know if you know, if you click on this little mouse icon here, you can switch the display here to show you the extents. So you can see that 7,5 and 38.6, 39.1. That's the top left-hand corner. So that is in the correct space. So we again going to try to do this one here. And then let's just check our offsets are disabled at the moment. Let's just try manually put in some offsets like 100. Aha, okay. So you can see the label, as I change these things, it's going to just shift around. And you can actually use this to figure out how to place your label. So if I put this at 0, it disappears. 20 starts appearing from the left there. If I do it like that, or like, let's do it like that. 30. You see that even though the width I specified was 30 or something like that, it will override it if the label itself is longer. So you need to bear that in mind. That's the X. This is the Y. So 15. And we're starting to get a placement that makes sense. Okay, so maybe 10. Now I've got it cushioned up into the top left-hand side there. Let's go change our label to back to name. Okay, and then we're going to just start shifting it around like that. So this is just the manual way to figure out where to place it. So we know 35 and 10 are good offsets. So I can go to my table here and just update them to offset X would be 35 and offset Y would be 10. Right, did you follow along? Did you see where we sort of, or did you manage to make yours show that in the right place?
I've
Live streaming is on.
Okay, hopefully we're back. If anybody is in the room, can tell me if you can see the stream as well, that would be great.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. All right, so what we want to do is now go back to, instead of using these as hard-coded things, we want to make them use the values from our table here. So we're going to go, and remember I had that little expression to do it, because I had to create the array. So I'm just going to do that again. We just search for array. It shows you the syntax. And we're going to put in there the two fields, the X offset, and then a comma, and then the Y offset, and then close brackets, and then just check it should be 30 and 10, 35 and 10. Okay. I'm not sure if I took a screenshot of that last time. I think I did already. Oh, yeah, I did already, so it's fine. Okay, so now I think I pressed escape. Sorry, let's have to do it one more time. Okay, so now that is data bound, so instead of using this will be the default if it's not set in the table. But if I go and change my table, and I make this, let's move it across to the right. If I make that 45, for example, I just need to do something to, you can see it shifted over. Just need to trigger a refresh on the screen. I think I should be able to use the refresh button. Let's just text as well. Yeah, so you can just refresh to see where you want to put it. Okay, did you manage to get then a label showing in the top left-hand corner, data bound to the offset X and Y?
Yeah.
Okay, and now
I
we
did
want
use different values. So
yeah,
I
it
think
could
it's
be
gonna
your
depend on
screen,
yeah.
or your fonts are different, or resolution's different, or something. I
Yeah.
don't know if using millimeters is the best. We could try using pixels here, and maybe we could have something more precise based on pixels. I don't know. I still need to go and experiment with that a bit. But yeah, so you might have to use different values. Good. Okay, so that's a label, which is nice, but it's kind of, we just hard-coded the value of the label by choosing the name. So we want to change the name to actually use a field which has got the label expression. Okay, and it's the same principle that we did for the geometry generator. We're going to eval it so that we can keep the expression as part of the data of the table rather than like hard-coded for every field. So to do that, we're just going to go to this one over here, and we're going to just do an eval on name. An eval on label expression. So eval label. Okay, and then you can see the preview underneath there. It's working. Time for another screenshot. Okay. Because the size of the word changed, the label will always be big enough to fit the text in. So you have to kind of make your sizes and things accordingly. So I'm going to actually just change this. I can either use a smaller font size, or I can use less text. Put it to 18. And you see, then it will sort of respect that now because the word fits inside of the box, basically. Okay. So that's kind of phase one. It's just getting the setup of everything so that everything's bound. I don't think we've got anything left that's not bound to a field. And then that's kind of like we have a playground now. We can start to experiment and do different things. We can add new labels, and instead of putting hard-coded text in there, we can actually calculate stuff and put them into the label, which is what the next phase is about. It's like how to calculate using an aggregate function or any function for that matter. So I'll show you maybe just something a little bit more interesting than the hello world. We can go in here to, let's do it in project options rather. And in the variables section here, you'll see there's a whole bunch of variables already defined. Can I not expand this out anymore? I'm sure I used to be. Oh, there it is there. Okay, so you can see, for example, there's all sorts of things I can get from here. Project units and what have you, my name. And I can also add my own variables in here. So I could say does it rock? Yes, QGIS rocks. Okay, I can put some funny thing in like that. And then that I can access as from an expression. So let's go to. Did you all manage to are you up to speed with me? Because I don't want to go on if you're still trying to get this basic thing working.
I'm okay for now.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to pull up your screen maybe quickly and just show us how yours looks, both of you.
Where is the screen? There's the
it's
screen
bottom
share.
left-hand corner. There's
Share your screen. Which screen are we sharing? This one. Share.
Woohoo.
Is it
Okay.
up there? Got my banking details now.
Okay, great. And Silbiwa, can you show us yours?
Oh no.
Your screen share, does it work or not? I can't remember.
It does work. I'm working on my Windows. Okay.
Okay.
Live streaming is on.
Where did that come from now? I think you might be. I'm not sure what's going on.
Where is the
Bottom
sharing?
left-hand corner, there's a little hand, and then there's the screen, share your screen icon. Maybe Charlie, just unshare yours again. There's three icons in the bottom left-hand corner. It's the middle one.
Okay. Tim, something is wrong.
Okay, you figure it out, and we'll come back when you got it.
No, not with the sharing. My block went back to the same position. So it's
okay.
whatever settings that I did, they went back to here.
Okay, first of all, you've got it looks like you've got the layer style still set. So you just go to your layer style.
What happened?
Go to the symbology. Yeah. And just set it to no symbol. Not there, up here. Not there. There. Just change to no symbol. Okay, then let's pull up your attribute table for the dashboard. Your project is still in 3857, so that's also wrong. You want to go and change it. You can just put it in form view for us and dock it into your window when you can. But first just change your project to 4326. I have to go and test it with 3857 and see why it didn't work exactly. And just save your project as you go. And then open your attribute table again and just dock it into the. Okay, maybe you don't have that. You have to go to settings to do that, but it's fine. If you just switch it to the form view, that's easier to see at the bottom right-hand corner of the attribute table. Yeah. So let's see. Everything looks fine there. Hello world, offset 45, 45. Okay, and then we're going to go. You can close that again. We're going to go and look at your settings of the symbology for the layer.
It might be fixed. You just need to refresh the view after changing the CRS.
Just zoom into your area, to your Brakpan. Okay, and then let's go look at the label properties. Just highlight the dashboard layer rather than the buildings layer. Okay, so when did it stop showing the block? Because that's how we're going to fix it. It's like work back from where the block showed to where it didn't show.
When I was about to do the hello world. So it's as if like every setting that I did, the expressions that we put down, they disappeared. Which is
They've
weird.
disappeared. They have disappeared. Okay, well, can you run through them quickly and do them again? It shouldn't take long.
Label placement.
Did you have any crash on QGIS or did it just lose everything?
No, it didn't. It did stop for a while, but it didn't crash. Huh.
Work from left to right. So go to the first tab and do it in a very structured way. Yeah. So because you've lost all your settings, so go to the ABC one there, and we set the style, the font first. One above. Do the font. Go to the data define properties. Yeah, and choose field type and change it to font. And then style, field type, style, and then the size, field type, size. You just work everything step by step.
Okay.
And then the color you need to do as well. Okay. And then go to the shield label, the shield icon. And tick on draw background. Okay, and then the size X and Y. Just make the panel a bit wider so you can see. Yep. The size X, you're going to bind it to the width, and the size Y, you're going to bind it to the height.
Right.
Okay. And then I think we go over to the placement.
Did you put a full color in background?
Yeah.
Okay, just save your project quickly so that we don't lose anything again. We're going to look at your geometry generator next. Okay, so scroll down and let's have a look at your geometry generator. Or even just turn the geometry generator off first. I can see there's a spelling mistake there by the looks, or it's just your screen is not up there. Okay, so it does display. There's no text showing in the middle. Do you know why? Maybe your text, leave it off for now. Let's get it displaying nicely on just in the middle of the screen first. So go back to the ABC properties. The color of the font you've set there. So go to look in your attribute table again. You had it open already. Just need to alt tab to it. So your font color is white, so that's why you can't see anything. So make it just black or red or anything you like. Okay, and then just save the table. Just save your edits. Okay, so now at least we know the label's drawing properly. So the last thing we do is just got to get the geometry generator working. Oh, second last thing. So tick on the geometry generator. Okay, great. And then your placement, you're going to have to just go like Charlie had to do. You've got to go tweak the numbers. And then just go to the value for the name, for the label, the top above. Just move your mouse up. You see where it says value underneath single labels. Move your mouse up some more. Don't scroll, just move the mouse up. Yeah, there. No, there, yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Okay, and you're going to type an expression in there because we can't pick it. We need to make an expression. We have to eval. And what was our thing called? The label expression. So make an expression there. Just delete that. Look in your fields and values. And double click label expression. And then close it with a bracket here. Okay, that disappeared off the screen. So I suspect your label expression might be broken. So we go back to the attribute table. Okay. Your label expression's got double quotes and you need to use it with single quotes.
Is it this?
In QGIS, if you put double quotes, that means you're referring to a field name. If you put single quotes, it means I'm giving you some text to use directly.
There you go.
Is it working?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay.
Awesome.
Save your project, and then you can stop sharing, and then we'll carry on.
Great, goody.
We've got 30 minutes left, so we'll just do one example of an expression, and then we'll wrap up. Just say yes. I don't know why you're getting that message all the time. Did QGIS crash on you now? Okay. Let's just have a quick look on the live stream to see if anybody's got any questions. No, everybody's happy. Are you other guys who joined us, are you following along okay? You're welcome to just jump in and ask if you want to know anything. So quickly, we're going to make another label to put underneath here. So the easiest way to do that is just to copy the first one and then paste it, right? And then, wait a minute. Let me just do it again. I'll just do it and do like that. So just going to copy that first one and then paste underneath. Okay, so it's got all the same contents in it. I'll just save it. And then we can edit the second one and put different stuff in to compared to the first one. So, right, we wanted to use the same origin because we want to kind of put it in this top corner. We're going to use a different expression. So I'll just put like number 2 here for now, that we can know that this is label number 2. And we first focus on just shifting it into the right place on the view frame. I just want to deselect that because I don't like all that yellow on my screen. Okay, so we want to shift it into the view frame. Second label. So we have to change the Y offset. The X offset shouldn't need to change because we want it to be like in the same horizontal position. So now I just need to fiddle around until I get the right height. Yours might be different to mine. Sorry, I went and changed the offset, the X offset. Changed the wrong label. I don't know why I jumped to the other one. And it's even lost that Y now. That was, I think it was on 10 before. So let's make that 20. Okay, 20 is too much, not enough. I'll do 25. You just trial and error until you get it in the right place. If you want to, you can go and do some calculation or something, but it's honestly quicker to do trial and error. And then you can make a different color background for this one. I'm going to make probably something really ugly. But, okay, you can see the offset is still not right, so I can go down and give it a few more millimeters. Let's make it 30. Too much. Okay, and it actually probably needs some like fractional distance, but I've got integers in here, so I can't specify millimeters in fractions, but it'll be okay because once we set the width to go with this one, then let's make this 40. Okay, 40 is too much. 30. Okay, so I think there's some padding or something going on here. I don't know why it makes it that much bigger. So I'm just going to go check my label properties again, especially for this thing here. I also just wanted to make it go into the center of the screen. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to go and make it centered. There's like a big chunk of blank space coming at the end there, which I don't like. Okay, I'll figure that out in a minute. Let's focus on getting an expression put in here. I think we can cheat here by just making this the width much smaller, like 20. And it will grow to the size of the label. Oh, I know why it looks offset. It's because the offset is not right. So let's just change this to building count, something like that. And I'm going to change the font size again, make it smaller.
Tim, in the background properties there of the layer style manager, I changed that size type to fixed and changed the values from
thank you.
5 and 10 to I think 125, 100 for width and 25 for height for both of my labels, and it seems to work.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I missed. Yeah. Okay, so that's great. So just in case you missed what you were saying there, so you can, if you do buffer, then it'll actually add the distance as a buffer to the box, which is not what we wanted. What we want is just to have it absolutely follow the numbers we gave, which explains a lot. Thank you very much. So that's why I had in my original, remember I was showing you my spreadsheet before here, and I had some much bigger looking numbers for the height and the width, and I was trying to figure out the height and the width, and I was trying to figure out why they didn't match. Thank you, Charlie. So, okay, so let's go to make those a bit bigger then. The height, make 20, and the width, maybe 40. I went and somehow changed the font size as well. Okay, and then I just got to get the offsets fixed as well. So F or X offset, and put to like 15 or something. Should probably be half the width is probably what we need. So if the width is 40, then the offset should be 20. Okay, and it'll land up, because the placement is based on the middle of the label. Okay, so then we want to use the same for the one below. We want a width of 40, offset of 20. The height of 20, something like that. And it needs a bit more of a Y offset here, 30. All the numbers work much better now.
Also makes it predictable when you add new labels. You can just add the height and then it'll offset exactly.
Thank you, Charlie. That's great. Okay, so now we've got a second label, and we just put in some basic expression. Yeah, we want to actually put that little one that we added when I was doing the project variables here, just as a first step. So to move from having a hard-coded value to having something more soft-coded. So let's put in here, and if we just put the @ symbol, and then that variable, I did it in the wrong one here. So this one I want to be building count. And this one we want to do, I need to put this inside of single quotes. Make sure it's single quotes, as you'll be aware. Okay.
Yes.
Let me go just check my expression. Now, if my expression is not working, there's no expression editor here. So one little kludge I do, or hack I do, is just go to somewhere else where an expression editor is being used. I test out my expression. You can see there it's working. So I think I was supposed to do it in double quotes, actually. Let me just see. No.
I think either without quotes or within single quotes, but using eval.
Oh, yes. There it works. So I'll just do it with no quotes. Okay. If it's not showing nicely like that, then we can just go set the font size again. Okay. And then save your project every time you have like a new increment of value in your work. So I hate that green, so I'm just going to change it quickly to something better. Okay. So that was just to show you, okay, we can use an expression in here, and it's being evaled. But now we want to do something a little bit more fancy. We want to actually count how many buildings are on the building layer. All right, so just make sure you've saved your layer and your project as you're working. So to save the count, to get the count on the building layer, we can use like the most basic aggregate expression, which is to do something like this. I just need to cheat sheet here. So if I do it again, we can prototype it here. It's easier than, so we can say, look at the aggregate function. Now the aggregates can get a little bit complicated to get your head around. So basically it takes a layer, an aggregate. So the aggregates are count, sum, max, min, mean, all those kind of things. And then an expression and an optional filter. So the expression would be normally a field name, but it could be something else. Like it could be another expression, like a calculation done on the, for example, to calculate the length or the areas of the buildings or what have you. And then the filter you can use to only create the aggregate on a subset of the data in the layer that you're aggregating. We're going to do the most simple one, which is just to do like to give it a layer name. So we're going to say building must match exactly the name in your legend on the left there. And then we're going to say the type of aggregate we want to do is the sum, which will just give us a count of the buildings. And the field should be, can be any field or expression. So if we do it like that, let's see aggregate. I need to just go check the properties of the layer that I'm doing the aggregate for. I think so I'm just going to cancel there. I'm just going to go look in here and look at the fields. So there's OSM type. It's not going to do any grouping on the type. It's just going to basically count them. So I think there is no type in this one. So we're going to use maybe building, just any field basically, because all the count needs is a field. So we can go back here, go back to our prototyping, and let's use building. Unfortunately, QGIS doesn't give you really good like message to say, well, maybe it, I mean, it's not very informative to know why it's not working. So building some, let me just check I'm using the right aggregate. We can always go look at the example at the bottom just to make sure. So building, I'm just checking carefully my spelling is correct. And then some and then the expression should be a double quote. Is it right? Let's just have a look. No. Okay, there we've got a preview now. Oh no, it's broken again. There. So I think it's actually correct. But I was expecting to see. We don't want to do count. Sum. We want to do count. Sorry about that. Okay, so that will give you a count of how many buildings there are. You can see it's previewed it underneath here. Now, of course, I actually broke what was supposed to be in here, so I'm just going to reinstate that, which was the the label expression should be in there. Okay, so that will fix the label. And then for this one, instead of using the does it rock, we're going to put this one in here, like this. And now what it's doing is calculating on the fly how many buildings there are in the layer, and then updating that number. Did you get yours to work as well?
Mine's working.
Yes, mine is working.
Great. And that's the basic principle of how I did the dashboard. So then I started to add more and more, and then I'll show you just some of the expressions that I did use. I won't try to do them all now. But so, for example, okay, so that one is the same as what we've just done, counting the number of buildings or roads. This one will tell you how many selected buildings or roads there were. This one will tell you the sum of the lengths of the roads. So you can see the expression I've used here. I've done a length calculation, and to get it into kilometers is divided by 1,000. And we had to transform it from 4326 to some projected coordinate reference system so we could actually get the length in meters. Otherwise, you'd be calculating the length in degrees. So there's three internal steps going on here. First, calculate the length, or starting from the inside. First, doing a transform, and then calculate the length, then divide by 1,000. And then the examples get a little bit more complicated. So here we've done only counting the selected, well, only calculate this one if the number of selected highways is greater than 0. Then we're going to round, in other words, get a whole number, and we get the aggregate of the sum of the highways of their length. So basically that will give us, and then there's a filter here which says that it must be selected. And there's some special reference to this current feature. So basically, as it walks through each road, it looks to see if it's selected or not, and then it like tallies it up to see how many were actually selected. So, and then the last different example was where I did like a flood calculation here. And I should say thank you to the people that these I didn't figure out all the logic myself. Some people in the Telegram also helped to get those to work. And then this one here, the flood count, basically did a geospatial overlay analysis to see how many buildings fall inside the flood layer. And it just looks at all the polygons of the flood layer at the moment. And the same with this one, which looks at how many intersect with how many roads intersect with the flood layer. So using that technique, you basically can do kind of like a QGIS analysis on the fly and store and render the results into a label. And as you're moving around or changing your data, the dashboard's always going to be showing you the current information. It's probably not too practical to do this for, like a big project with a lot of buildings and have it being updating all the time. But you could, using layer themes, so you could go and then create a special theme where you just enable it when you want to see the stats, and then switch to a more efficient theme for just panning and browsing. I did want to show one other thing, which Niall Dawson gave me this nice hint, which is to use layer dependencies. So if I change the number of buildings in the buildings layer, or change the selection or something, or want to trigger an update here, I can actually create this layer dependency between the dashboard and the buildings layer to say basically when something happens in the buildings layer, make sure to update the dashboard layer. So I just want to show you where that is done here. You can see this dependencies tab here in the layer properties. And in here, you can say that this dashboard has a dependency on the buildings or the highways layer, for example. And then what it means is whenever those two layers change, it will be sure to refresh the labels on the dashboard layer as well. All right, we've got 10 minutes left in our session. Have you got anything that you didn't understand? Is anybody else in the room who's been watching Want to ask anything?
I've got a couple things
Sure,
to discuss.
fire away. Do you want to share your screen, or do you want me to show on my screen?
No, you can share your screen now. I've just got a big building count.
You've got a big building count. Do you have a lot of buildings?
No, just it's very big. I made the font size large. It's a small number of buildings. It's only 3,000. But I was going to say for scalability, I don't see that it's not feasible if you're using spatial index and you're filtering your expressions by the current map extent. I would imagine that it's still reasonable, even at large scale.
Yeah, so you could be saying, like, as you pan stuff into view, just give the dashboard of what you're seeing on the screen, basically. But if you've got all the world's buildings and you zoom out, it might just grind it to a halt eventually. But yeah. But yes, you could
if you do scale-dependent rendering, or you make sure that your expression doesn't render past a certain scale, I think you could build it so that it works at scale. And I think that's really powerful if you start. Have you experimented with charts at all?
I have. I mean, not in this dashboard thing, but
because that could be interesting.
With the charts, and also there's the Plotly plugin that you can also put on the side here to show charts. But I actually have another idea as well because one of the things here is you can more or less just display text. You'll see if you look in my example, I've also managed to display some icons here. And the way that I did that was I used the UNOCHA font, which is basically like one of those web fonts, which has got a whole bunch of icons in it. So you can cheat to get some basic pictures there. But I was also thinking that we could use Geometry Generator to create, for example, a polygon, something that always sits in the bottom left-hand corner. And then you've got all of the style options that you can do to display, for example, graphics in there. And I don't know if you've looked at the parameterized SVGs yet. We can have another session on those if you like. But basically with SVG, you can set parameters. Actually, Klaus Carlson's got a nice YouTube video on how to abuse that to make them do different things. So we could potentially be doing, for example, displaying a little SVG which changes the size based on a number to make a little chart, or displaying other graphics conditionally based on what's happening on the map in a kind of a fixed place on the dashboard. And with the QGIS charts, we could also have a dot that gets rendered here, and then use the chart renderer to, the diagram. Do we still call it diagrams? Yeah, to actually render the chart at the position of the dot. So yeah, there are all sorts of cool things we could come up with. It'd be nice if you go let your imagination wander wild and then come back and share what you came up with. I'm sure I'll be playing more with it on the weekend and also post some more examples.
Yeah, I've actually got a Python script for adding the parameters to standard SVGs that are built from Raymond's work on GitHub. If people need it. So I've got Font Awesome and stuff is available through the resource sharing plugin, and I've just got a Python script that'll take like a font library like that and then just run through all the SVGs in the subdirectory, and then you can add, because by default any SVG is not going to support parameters. Right?
Yeah, so you look for all the width or height or whatever, or color or something like that, and add a parameter, swap it out with a parameter.
The one thing, I'm probably going to jump off now, but I did want to ask, maybe is, you say here point in at map extent, and then you've got the point position of 4. So I don't know if anyone viewing, they might not know that if you put 3, it'll move to the other side of the screen or whatever.
Correct, yeah. And then you just need to use negative offsets if you do that, because so for example, if I change that to 3, it goes to the other side of the screen, but it's now like drawing over here. So then you need to use the negative offset for the X to bring it to come back this way. That makes sense? Because I'm saying bring it left instead of bring it right of the point of origin.
Will that offset apply if you change the Placement properties.
Probably you could go change it, and then it
Although that's for the whole layer. That's not going to be for individual features. So then you would have to
yeah,
swap
but we
the
could
signs
we
on the
could
other ones
data bind
anyway.
it, so we could actually have another one which said the placement origin, and then because
Make
I
that
think
data-driven
you're
as
right.
well.
If we make that just a non one like that, you just need to play around with them. So I think you still will need, because there's no placement which actually shows the whole label on the screen. Or maybe that one needs to be 0 like that. Let's see. Okay, and then it's still not. It still needs to have some negative things. I don't know if there's a 100% good way of dealing with that other than just
I
using
think maybe
a negative,
another field. Well, I mean, negative fields obviously they work, but I mean, otherwise you can just
Yeah,
add
you could have
another
a field for
field
this
and
quadrant.
make a new expression.
Yeah, if you wanted to. Yeah. Good. Thank you, CLBware. Do you have any last question? I know you also have to run off.
No, not questions necessarily. It's just a comment to say that when it comes, one thing that I've realized while doing this is that I think it's important to make sure that your expressions in most cases are okay, and by okay I mean you whatever expression you choose for whatever you want to display is correct. Make sure that the spelling, for example, the mistake that I did,
The
the
quotes.
quotes, having a single quote and a double quote at the same time. So I think just making sure like how you prepared your sheet before you can put them here. So I think it's also good to prepare also. Make sure that everything is ready, and then if it needs fixing, then it's just minor fixes that you need to do.
Yeah, and make incremental changes so that like each change you make, you check it works, and then you add one, then you only have to roll back one thing if it stops working, and
Yeah.
yeah. Good, thank you. Everybody else in the room's been very quiet, but I hope you had a good time listening in, and we'll try to do some more sessions like this. I think it's fun to kind of do what we would be doing in-house, but just share it with other people because they maybe you also get some benefit from it. So thanks, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.
All right.
Cool.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Cheers.
Okay, then. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.